So hello everyone, my name is Ellen Thompson-Jennings and I'm glad that you want to participate in my program called Saving Your Genealogy Forever. So let's look at how you're going to organize your genealogy in Forever. So if you are familiar with Forever, then you'll start out by setting up some folders. If you're not familiar with Forever, then I'll post in the show notes or in the email that I've sent you where you can set up an account. Initially, you'll start with a free 2 GB account, but you'll need to purchase Forever storage at some time in order to preserve your account for years to come. In this demonstration, I'll give you a little overview and explain my numbering system. Remember, this is what works for me, so yours might be slightly different, and I may even modify mine as I go along. So I welcome any suggestions that I get from you. So the first step is to log into your account and then go to Albums, either over here under the 3 lines, down here, or in the center under Albums. Once you arrive at the Albums overview, you're going to go to the big green button where it says Add a New Album. You're going to click that, and you're going to put the name that you want to put for your genealogy family history folder. And then you're also going to want to set up the privacy settings, so whether they are private, only for you, family and friends, or public. There's also a space for adding a description, and then create the album by clicking the green button. So now we're in my genealogy and family history album, and you'll see that there's quite a few different albums already set up, and I would suggest that perhaps you might want to grab a pedigree chart, and that would be kind of like your roadmap for how you're going to set this up. So if you think about yourself as being ground zero or the first or the 00 generation, so I actually have an album you'll see where I have 00 and you the star. So you would put your name and you're the star, and in this folder you're going to start putting all the things that you have that pertain to your life, because at some point you're going to want to have a more structured information about your story so that you can pass that on to other generations. So my numbering system is fairly simple, with you being generation 00, and then your parents are generation 01, your grandparents are 02, your great-grandparents 03, and so on. The number is then followed by the couple surname. So usually I always pick the male's name first and then the female's second, with it being her maiden name because that's the name she was given at birth. I've decided to put my genealogy at the end of my titles because that makes it a little bit easier to, when you're doing a search, you'll know, oh, that's part of my genealogy files. So in the case of my parents, the main folder would look like this. And I've added the couple. So then within 01, you'll see that so it's 01 Thompson Middlebrough genealogy, because my mother's maiden name was Middlebrough. And this represents a couple. Then nested below are the following folders. And I will list them in the information that I'm sending to you. But basically what it is there's a census folder, a certificates folder, newspapers and directories, DNA, family group sheets, miscellaneous documents, pictures that primarily just pertain to genealogy, and a research log. Now notice that there are a couple more that I have in other of the family groups, and one is called Fan Club, and I haven't added it to this one, but I will. So the Fan Club is anybody that is a part of that combination of couple. So I would have a folder here for each of my brothers, and I can then even have nested albums within their albums for anything pertaining to their children. So here I'm looking at my great-grandparents folder, which is generation 3, and it's for William Beaton and Mary Cotman. And you'll see that I've included that in the description. You know, if somebody's looking, then it will help them out. But you'll see that I have included the fan club. And you'll also see that there's an additional folder called Beaton/White Genealogy Second Marriage. And so because my great-grandfather William Beaton was married a second time, then I've included this folder. And then any information that's pertaining to that marriage would be in that folder. So he had 2 children with Ann White. And so then I can put information in there about anything that I have about those children and their families. So I'm back now looking at my genealogy and family history folder overview, and you'll see all the different generations. So you'll see generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, generation 4, and then it will continue. Now you'll notice that there's a couple of other folders, one called Family Heirlooms. So this is for, it's an album that I created that I take pictures or photographs of things that I have around the house that I want to identify and tell the story of those items. So I put them in there. And I also have a virtual cemetery. Now, remember, if you have anything that you want to put in more than one album, that's not going to mean that you're taking up more space. Each of the documents that you put in, that's the amount of space that they take. And you can attach it to as many albums as you like. Another thing, as you add documents, you may want to consider as you add them that you're going to tag them with the names of the people that they include. So then if you're just looking in your Forever album and you want to find all the photographs or all the documents that you have tagged with, say, Jesse Oliver, who is my great-grandfather, and he's in file number 03, Oliver Clark, then I can just type in Jesse Oliver, and everything that I have in my entire Forever account will show up. Now, whether it's all in one folder or album may or may not be, depends on how I set that, you know, what I've tagged with that. So typically what I do is I leave any children that are not direct lines. So basically this genealogy overview is just my direct line. All the children that are not part of my direct line, they go with the couple that are their parents. And then they can be a part, if I have further information about any of those children and their children, then I put them as part of the fan club. Now you may choose to do something different, and like I say, this is totally up to you, but this is how I have it for now. So just to overview how to make a nested album, it's it's exactly the same way as when you started your genealogy album, and that is when you're in the album wherever you want to be. So if I'm within my genealogy folder and I want to create a nested album, then I would type here, if I was starting out for the next generation, I would put 05 and then put the name of the couple and then genealogy and so on, and then create the album. So every time when you want to make a nested album, you're going to want to go into the folder that you want that nested album to be within. So if you want something to be within the genealogy family history folder, then you're going to create it here. If I wanted something to be in the Thompson-Middleborough folder, then I would create it here. I've also mentioned the basic sub-albums that I have, the census, the certificates, etc. But you might want to have additional nested albums, and you may have them for all of your family groups or just for some. So for instance, in the case of the 03 or third generation Oliver Clark genealogy, my great-grandmother came on the Empress of Ireland. So you see that I have an Empress of Ireland folder within the Oliver Clark genealogy, because this folder only pertains to them, and in fact only pertains to my great-grandmother. But you can also have folders that might include military records, or you might have a folder for travel, or you might have a photo folder or album, pardon me, for recipes. If you want, you could have a folder where you want to just put all the things that you'd like to put in a book. So you could have a subcategory within the Oliver Clark genealogy. You could have a nested album called The Book, or whatever you want to call it. And then that makes it just easier to find those things. By tagging it with the book, you could then find all the things that you wanted to put in a book when you start creating the book. So there's lots of ways you can organize your genealogy using Forever. I hope this is a good beginning, and I'm hoping that this week you'll take the time to start creating those albums and nested albums. It takes a little bit of time, and so don't try and do it all in one setting. Just take your time over the week, and I will be sending you an invite to a get-together if you'd like to talk about any questions or problems that you might be having with this system, and I will be sending you a note separately. Thanks for watching.